Welcome to the Explainer. Now, step off the path for a second, initiate, and keep your voice down. We need to be careful because the forest we're walking through right now, it's currently under a hidden threat. Today, I'm acting as your mentor, a scholar of Eileen Mar, and you need to treat this explainer as an urgent field walk. We're not sitting in a safe, sealed library studying abstract theories today. We are out here where the air is thick, where the trees are actively watching, and where you absolutely must learn the oldest laws of survival against demonic influence.
Look around you. Just stop and listen for a moment. Do you hear that? Exactly, nothing. Ask yourself, what kind of power silences instinct before it even translates into language? We're observing the world of Ilian Mar reacting to an invisible demonic presence right now, and I really need you to think critically about this. We aren't hunting for a monster with horns hiding behind a tree. We're looking for the profound absence of normal life. Why would the birds just stop singing in the middle of the morning? They don't follow religious doctrines. They don't care about royal decrees. So why the silence? Because they're reacting to a deep imbalance, a literal pressure in the air. And that brings us to the absolute core of our lesson today. Unlike human courts, nature doesn't bargain. It doesn't flatter. It simply provides raw physical evidence when demonic influence gets too loud. Think about it. Humans can be bribed, right? A minister's mind can easily be twisted by a demon's promise of wealth or power. But you literally cannot bribe a tree. You can't negotiate a treaty with a thunderstorm. Nature is the ultimate incorruptible witness. It's not sitting there judging you the way holy power does. It just impartially shows us the physical reality of a wound.
You really must understand the fundamental difference between these two forces if you want to survive out here. Notice how demonic crowns are absolutely desperate for narrative control. They thrive on pride, on contracts, on spinning the story. Natural power, on the other hand, relies entirely on the impersonal heavy weight of reality. Demons want leverage over you. They want to twist your perception, so you sign a contract out of sheer fear or ambition. But natural power, it's ancient. It's incredibly patient. A demon might be able to trick your mind into believing winter is over, but it cannot convince the winter itself to stop freezing the ground. Nature always answers narrative lies with undeniable physical consequences.
Let's pull a concept directly from the Vassago archives. They remind us of our very first line of defense, the law of place. This law actively measures every single demon the exact moment it crosses into a valley or a forest. In the demonic realm, a king like Belial has immense, terrifying rank. But the moment he steps into the mortal world, he actually has to stand on physical ground. And no crown stands above the ground it enters. A drowned, muddy marsh simply does not respect a demon's royal court. The terrain itself resists. Honestly, a lesser spirit standing on its native ground of fear might actually wield more power than a king demon who's trying to command a mountain that completely rejects him.
To survive, you have to learn to read the world like a text. Look closely at these animal behaviors. Initiate. Beasts don't need a theology degree to sense danger. They act as our biological early warning sensors against hidden manipulation. When a human official gets corrupted, they might speak beautifully, totally hiding the lie behind perfect policy. But a horse will flat out refuse to walk down the road where that official made their dark bargain. Dogs will cower. They'll grow unnaturally silent. These animals are physically feeling the threshold of demonic manipulation way before we even have the human vocabulary to describe what's wrong. Now, I want you to observe how this resistance scales up when we look at an entire ecosystem. A low-ranked demon might target one sick household, or maybe one ambitious minister trying to isolate them. But the forest answers that isolation with a massive, interconnected web of resistance. Demons organize themselves by strict, rigid hierarchies: kings, legions, ranks, very top-down. A forest doesn't care about rank at all. A seed, a fungus, a root system, an animal trail, they're all working together without needing a throne or a leader. When a demon attacks one single point, the whole web feels the pull and immediately begins to push back.
And how does it push back? Through something incredibly profound: root memory. See, we don't just fight the demon at the point of attack. We follow the roots to expose the entire network of infection the demon has built beneath the soil. Think of roots as the Earth's natural record keepers. A demon might be whispering from inside a hidden tomb, but the roots will tell us exactly where the dead were improperly moved. They'll show us why the soil is refusing to let them rest. As a scholar of Aelian Mar, you have to learn to trace these roots. You need to find out exactly what the demon is starving and what it's secretly feeding.
All right, time for a test. Initiate. Use your eyes. Look at the stagnant water pooling near this old shrine. Tell me, why do you think villages built near moving water recover from demonic panic so much faster than cities built around sealed underground rooms? Think about what stagnant water actually represents. Think about what a rushing river does to a reflection. Remember, demons absolutely thrive in closed loops. They love hidden, stagnant corners where the exact same fears can be whispered over and over, night after night. If you guessed motion, you hit the nail on the head. The archives teach us that rivers disrupt demonic patterns by simply refusing to stay still. They actively break the stagnant whispers that demons rely on to build power. And it's important to understand, the river doesn't purify the area through some magical, complicated ceremony. It resists through sheer, relentless physical motion. Whatever a demon tries to freeze in place, whether it's a sealed bargain or a fixed state of fear, the river just picks it up and carries it onward. A nightmare brought to running water literally loses its edges. So the absolutely crucial point here is understanding this contrast. Let's say a demon like Belial is feeding on public insult and pride, building up all this emotional heat. Well, a rushing river scatters that heat through its constant movement. It's a constant moving witness. A demonic seal drawn in the dust of a stagnant, sealed room? Very powerful. But let the rain reach it, let a current wash over it, and that seal completely fails. The river literally takes the sound away. Nature doesn't have to shout to defeat a demon. It just patiently repeats its motion until the false, stagnant thing gets tired and washes away. Okay, so if moving water defeats demonic stagnation, what defeats demonic urgency? The answer is stone. Demons are always in a rush. They constantly win by accelerating human desire and panic. But stone mountains? They force these ancient beings to confront a timeline that is far, far longer than their urgent rage. Think about it. Demons want you to act right now. Seize that wealth right now, take your revenge right now, demand certainty today. But a mountain doesn't hurry for monsters, and it certainly doesn't give you permission to panic. There's this really profound truth written in the old texts. It goes, "A false human face might easily fool the ministers in a palace, but the immense, uncaring pressure of a mountain will always retain the physical imprint of what crossed it." Stone holds history. It holds physical boundaries. A sealed cave might hold a demonic name that a human court should never, ever hear. But the stone isn't going to accidentally slip up and reveal it out of fear. It just holds the weight, completely impassive and entirely unyielding to any sort of demonic glamour. Look up at the canopy for a second. The sky itself is our next defense mechanism. When you're in a ruined court and you feel the wind completely stagnate and the deception in the room becomes so thick you can barely breathe, watch the sky. Watch it begin to move in response. Wind slips under locked doors. It completely ignores the heavily guarded borders of corrupted kings. It carries the truth much farther than any demon ever intended. We actually call this phenomenon atmospheric correction. These natural storms function as massive corrections that physically scatter corrupt meetings. They wash away hidden marks with sudden, violent rain. Thunder doesn't stop to ask which human minister signed the demonic bargain. Lightning literally doesn't care which side of the war you're on. The storm is just there to break the concentration of unnatural pressure. When a demon gathers too much fear and ambition in one single place, reality eventually refuses to breathe, and the storm just breaks it all wide open. This relentless motion, the wind, the rain, the rivers, it exposes a massive vulnerability in the whole demonic strategy. Demons are basically con artists, constantly promising their followers a false eternity. They promise a throne that will never fall or a lineage that will never break. But nature forcefully dismantles these ridiculous claims through seasonal cycles: patient rot, seasonal return, eventual decay. Literally nothing in nature lasts forever in a frozen state. What grows must eventually change, and what dies has to return to feed the soil. Always remember that a tower built out of fear is going to inevitably mildew. Rot is simply nature's patient, quiet rebellion against a demonic crown's architecture. I need you to internalize this. Decay is not defeat. Initiate. It is the world's method of actively refusing a false eternity. A palace that's sustained by stolen luck will eventually grow cold. The demonic contracts will fade at the edges. And the crazy thing is, renewal is just as dangerous to them. If a ruined, terrified village can just plant seeds and begin again in the spring, the demon completely loses its market value on fear. Let's test your observation skills again. Right here in this field we're standing in. Look closely at the ground. What does it actually mean when the roots are incredibly thin, there are absolutely no worms in the soil, but the village elders are calling it a blessing simply because they're too terrified to call it a demonic debt? Sure, the grain looks incredibly green, but it's growing without any insects. The well water tastes like heavy metal. The elders are just masking their deep hunger with a totally false abundance. Make no mistake, this is a demonic delay of collapse. It is not a true harvest. If you genuinely want to survive out here, you have to memorize these environmental cues. Because nature will always start answering a loud demonic presence with undeniable physical reality. A field suddenly blooming in the dead of winter? That isn't a miracle. That's a buried human oath desperately trying to overpower a demonic command. A tree that's casting a shadow in the completely wrong direction? It is screaming at you that the fabric of reality in that exact spot has been severely wounded. Watch the soil. Taste the springs, feel the wind. Just as the great scholar Ilian Mar learned on that ruined hillside all those years ago, our strength against demons only grows when we stop treating power as a possession and begin treating it as a responsibility. When Ilian saw that fake, unnatural green harvest, his borrowed demonic powers wanted to just burn the whole lie away. He wanted to forcefully, violently name the guilty. But the soil gave him a much humbler answer. It asked him to be accurate, not aggressive. And that leads directly to our core protocol for survival. We cannot command nature like it's some demonic legion waiting for orders. Instead, we have to align with it. We do that by restoring poisoned springs, burying the dead properly, and flat out refusing to build on wounded, corrupted sites. You can't ask the river to wash away a demon's mark if you haven't even taken the time to know the river. You can't ask the forest for protection if you're acting like a tyrant, cutting it down.
You must listen, you must repair the damage, and you must remember your proper place in the ecosystem. So, initiates, as we wrap up this walk and prepare to face the crowns, I want you to ask yourself a very serious question. Is the ground you're standing on actually willing to sustain the power you intend to wield? If we abuse the natural world, we lose our absolute oldest, strongest shield against the demons. We literally make the world easier to haunt. Learn the rivers, respect the storms, and always, always listen to the silent birds. Your survival completely depends on it. Keep studying, keep observing, and never, ever mistake a demon's noise for true power.